Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us these excerpts from Richard Montanari's novel Badlands, and, well, our mission today is to really dig into the core insights from what looks like a really disturbing series of interconnected homicide investigations in Philadelphia.
That's right. We're going to follow detectives Kevin Byrne and Jessica Balzano as they try to piece together this truly twisted case.
So where do we start? It seems like the initial focus is the disappearance of Caitlin O'Riordan.
Yeah, exactly. Our dive into the material you sent starts there with Caitlin's unsettling disappearance and then later the discovery of her body. But her case takes this really dark turn almost immediately.
Oh, so.
Well, there's this anonymous tip, right? It leads the detectives to this vacant lot, and there they find a human heart in a specimen jar.
Wow. Okay, so right away, this isn't just a missing person case.
Not at all. This discovery just signals we're dealing with something far more complex and, frankly, gruesome.
And Caitlin herself. She was missing for about a month, right? 30 days before they found her body drowned.
Correct. And what really stood out, probably to the original investigators too, was that she was still wearing her stuff, like her lilac backpack, a silver cladong necklace.
Which suggests robbery wasn't the motive.
Precisely. It rules that out pretty quickly and just adds this layer of mystery right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what was the point of taking her?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was something else strange about the initial investigation, wasn't there? Something about the detectives.
Uh-huh. Really adds to this sort of sense of unease around the whole thing.
Hmm.
The original investigators on her case, one retired, like really suddenly,
Okay.
and the other one tragically died. Had a stroke, apparently, while he was at a horse race.
Huh. That's quite a coincidence. Almost feels like the case itself is cursed or something.
It definitely casts a shadow. Then comes that anonymous tip you mentioned. Super cryptic, just red door and near second and diamond.
That's so vague. How did that even lead anywhere?
It is vague. But it's kind of fascinating, right? How even a tiny, imprecise clue can unlock something huge and, well, dark. Maybe the tipster was scared, or maybe they were taunting the police.
Taunting them, knowing what they'd find.
Possibly. Because behind that red door, tucked inside an old refrigerator, they find it. The heart.
Okay, but here's where it gets even stranger, based on the material. That heart. It wasn't Caitlin's.
No, that's the next big shock. It's later identified as belonging to a Monica Renzi.
So this immediately blows the case wide open. It's not just Caitlin, it's potentially a series.
Exactly. It broadens the scope instantly, suggests a pattern, maybe even, serial killer. And finding Monica's heart like that, it suggests a certain, I don't know, brazenness.
Or maybe like they're leaving trophies, markers.
Could be. Or just raises the really chilling thought that there might be other victims still out there undiscovered.
Okay, so the investigation has two victims, sort of. Where does it go next?
Yeah.
There was something about a hotline call.
Right. Things take another weird turn. A call comes into the CIU hotline. The caller mentions a dream and a Shiloh movie.
A Shiloh movie? What does that even mean? Sounds completely random.
It does. But this is where Hal Romer, the criminalist, comes in. His expertise is key here.
Because he figures it out.
Yeah. It shows how sometimes these, totally nonsensical clues can actually be crucial if you have the right person looking at them. Romer somehow interprets Shiloh movie as an address, 4514 Shiloh Street.
Okay, that's quite a leap. So they check out the address.
They do. They head over to Shiloh Street, and what they find there is, well, initially, it's not directly connected to Caitlin. They find a sort of makeshift memorial.
Like someone died there before.
Seems like it. And signs of drug activity, too. It paints a picture of, a pretty troubled location. But no immediate link back to Caitlin O'Riordan.
So it feels like maybe a dead end at first, following this strange clue.
Kind of looks that way initially.
Yeah.
But the location does yield something else. Later, Hal Romer finds a photograph. It's tucked inside a Bible found on the property.
And let me guess, it's not Caitlin in the photo.
Nope. It's another teenage girl.
And the details in this photo become really important, right? I remember reading that part.
Extremely important. The photo shows a white, overweight teenage girl, auburn hair, wearing a very specific outfit. Red sequin sweater, big hoop earrings.
And a necklace, right? An onyx teardrop pendant.
Exactly. These specific visual details are why photos like this can be so vital. They become identifiers.
They link victims, maybe show a pattern in who the killer targets or how.
Yeah, the specificity, the sweater, the pendant. It suggests a real focus on certain things, maybe even something ritualistic.
And tragically, the girl in the photo, she's identified later.
Yes. As another victim, her dismembered remains are found. Well, right there. in a crawl space at 4514 Shiloh Street,
Oh, God. At the same address where they found the photo.
at the very same address. And chillingly, she's wearing parts of what was in the photo. The red sequin sweater, the earrings, and the onyx pendant.
It's like the killer wanted her found like that, documenting it. Horrifying.
It really underscores that idea,
Yeah.
leaving this visual narrative almost. The photo is both a clue for the police and, maybe some kind of sick memento for the killer.
So the case keeps expanding. Then Eve Galvez enters the picture. How does she fit in?
Eve Galvez.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of bumps into the investigation. Turns out she has a past connection with Detective Byrne.
Ah, personal history. That always complicates things.
It definitely raises the stakes for Byrne, potential bias, conflicts, and she hints that she knows something about the case.
So she could be a key witness.
A potential asset, definitely.
Yeah.
But also, given what's happening, a potential target.
And sadly, that's what happens, isn't it? She's murdered.
Yeah. Her involvement ends very darkly. She's found later, murdered, buried in a shallow grave out in Fairmount Park.
Which tells the detectives the killer is ruthless. Cleaning up loose ends, maybe?
Absolutely. It reinforces the danger, shows the killer is actively silencing anyone who gets too close. But Eve still manages to leave one more clue.
How? From beyond the grave.
Sort of. They recover a flash drive from her belongings.
Okay, and what's on it?
A bunch of files. JPEGs. Including older photos of another girl named Graciela.
Graciela. So another potential victim. Or someone connected.
It starts to suggest, maybe a link between the victims, or maybe someone the killer is targeting next. It adds this whole new urgency.
Suddenly, it's not just solving past crimes, it's trying to prevent the next one.
Exactly. That's the shift.
The investigation then takes them to Laura Somerville. And there's this puzzle, a tangram.
Yeah, Laura Somerville. And she has this tangram puzzle, those 7 flat shapes you can make pictures out of.
Right. Seems like an odd thing to pop up in a homicide case. What's the significance?
Well, it suggests maybe the killer sees this whole thing as a game, an intellectual challenge maybe, or maybe the victims are like pieces in some twisted design they're creating.
And Byrne actually solves the puzzle at her place.
He does, yeah. It's like he's starting to get inside the killer's head, maybe figure out their logic.
But the connection to Somerville also ends tragically. She falls possible. Or jumps.
Yeah, she's found dead. It's unclear if it was a fall or suicide. And there's another clue there, too. Scrabble tiles.
Spelling what?
Spelling Ludo. L-U-D-O.
Ludo. Like the board game.
What?
First a tangram, now Scrabble, spelling out a game name.
Exactly. It really hammers home this theme of games. Ludo itself is about, chance and strategy, maybe reflects the killer's calculated approach, but also maybe the randomness, the unpredictability for the victims.
And Ludo seems to be the bridge to this whole other world, right? The world of magic.
That's the connection. Ludo appears, and suddenly the name Jeremiah Crossley surfaces, linked to some magic trick about making people disappear and reappear.
It's such a bizarre shift from like gritty street crime to stage illusions.
It really is. But it might highlight the killer's fascination with, deception, misdirection, manipulation, reality. That's what magic is, right? Creating illusions. Maybe that's key to understanding them.
So to figure this out, they talk to an actual magician, Arthur Lake.
Yeah, from the International Brotherhood of Magicians. They ask him about something called the 7 Wonders.
Which normally means like grand illusions in magic.
Right. But here, obviously, it takes on a much, much darker meaning. The killer seems to have twisted this concept.
Turning it into a series of deadly performances.
Seems like it. Suggests this real grandiosity. Wanting to stage these elaborate, unforgettable acts of violence. Blurring that line between entertainment and just horror.
And then they find those online videos. This part was deeply disturbing.
Oh, absolutely chilling. Videos surface online showing illusions, the Garden of Flowers, girl without a middle, drowning girl, sword box, sub-trunk, bridal chamber. Standard-sounding illusions, but...
But they feature the actual victims before they were killed.
Yes, performing in these illusions shortly before their deaths. It's the killer foreshadowing, documenting almost, immortalizing their crimes in this grotesque way.
And the person posting these videos uses the name Mr. Ludo.
That's the online persona that emerges. Clearly the killer. And this Mr. Ludo seems connected to a known magician called the Great Sign.
So the theatricality, the magic, it's deeply embedded in who this killer is, how they operate.
Absolutely. It speaks to maybe a need for control, for recognition, even if it's anonymous online, orchestrating everything.
And the great song, That name gets peeled back too, right? We find out who he really is.
We do. The investigation reveals his real name is Carl Swann, and his son is Joseph Swann.
Joseph Swann. That name feels like it's been hovering around the edges.
It has. And their family home, Fairwood, becomes this really central location, described as being full of secret passages, dark history.
The setting itself sounds like something out of a Gothic novel. How does Fairwood add to the whole atmosphere?
It becomes like a physical symbol of all the Swann family secrets, their twisted past.
Yeah.
Creates this really claustrophobic, ominous feeling like the evil is built into the walls, almost inherited.
And inside Fairwood, they find out more about Laura Somerville, the woman with the tangram.
Yes. Her role becomes much clearer. Turns out she wasn't just some random person. She was Carl Swann's stage assistant. Her stage name was Odette.
Odette, like the swan from Swan Lake, given Carl's stage name Signe.
Exactly. And her connection to Joseph, the son, was, well, much deeper than just professional. They find a strong box. Letters, journals inside.
And what do they reveal?
They reveal that Laura, or Odette, was deeply involved, not just in Joseph's life, but seemingly complicit in his crimes.
Wow. So she wasn't just another victim who fell, she was part of it.
It paints a very complex picture, a whole web of manipulation and sheer darkness within that family structure. And worse,
There's more.
the journals hint at other deaths, 6 other deaths, connected to Carl Swann's old traveling magic show.
6 more. So this goes back years, decades maybe.
It expands the timeline dramatically, suggests this hidden history of violence tied to the Swanns going way back, a truly disturbed family legacy.
Okay, so the investigation is zeroing in on Joseph Swann Fairwood. What about Graciela, the girl from the photos on Eve's flash drive?
Right, Graciela Galvez. She's revealed as the final intended victim, the last wonder.
And she's connected to Eve.
Yes, she is the daughter of a woman named Catherine. Eve Galvez knew this, knew Graciela was in danger, and was trying to protect her by sending those photos to her mother as a warning.
So it all connects back. Eve's murder makes even more sense now. She was trying to save Graciela.
Exactly. Graciela becomes the focus. She's the potential final tragedy, the detective's last chance to stop Joseph.
And the final wonder itself, the fire grotto. Sounds ominous.
Described as a particularly dangerous illusion.
Huh.
And the climax happens at Fairwood. Graciela actually confronts Joseph Swann there.
She confronts him.
Yes, apparently intending to kill him. A real reversal. The intended victim fighting back.
Wow. Talk about high stakes, set against this backdrop of a deadly magic illusion.
It's incredibly tense. And while this is happening, Jessica Balzano, the detective, she gets trapped.
Trapped where?
In one of Fairwood's secret rooms. The house is literally a maze, a trap.
How does she get out?
She finds a hidden mechanism. Turns out, Laura Odette had provided a schematic and a diagram revealing the escape route. Maybe a final act of conscience? Atonement.
Laura's role is so complicated. So, Jessica escapes. What happens with Joseph and Graciela?
Joseph Swann ends up trapped. Trapped in his own creation, the fire grotto.
Oh.
And it's set on fire.
He dies in his own illusion.
A very symbolic end, yeah. Hoisted by his own petard, you could say. Consumed by the very thing he used to control and terrify others. And his father, Carl Swann, is apparently there too, in the house, as all this chaos erupts.
A truly fiery, dramatic end to the whole thing.
Definitely. And the aftermath, well, it confirms the scale of the horror.
They find more bodies at Fairwood.
Yes. Investigators eventually uncover the remains of 6 other unidentified victims buried on the property, those hinted at in the journals. Silent witnesses to years, maybe decades, of these hidden crimes.
Just unbelievable, the sheer number of lives destroyed.
It's staggering.
And then there's that final detail about the tangram. It wasn't just the puzzle Laura had.
No. Looking back, mapping out all the crime scenes across Philadelphia, they realized the locations themselves formed the shapes of a tangram puzzle.
The whole city was his game board.
Essentially, yes, a final, morbid piece of theater. With the final location, the last piece of the puzzle being the baseball fields at Cecil B. Moore Avenue. It just shows the level of meticulous, twisted planning involved.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive into the Badlands excerpts, I mean, it's revealed just a truly disturbing case. The way magic, something meant for entertainment, was twisted to mask such horror.
Absolutely. The killer's obsession with performance, with illusion, and the tragic, awful fates of all the victims. It really underscores a profound darkness hiding beneath the surface.
And what's really striking, looking back at everything we discussed, is how all those seemingly random clues connected.
The movie title, the puzzle, Ludo, the stage illusions, They all fit together in this intricate web. It really took that relentless police work, that persistence you mentioned from Byrne and Balzano, and some insightful thinking to finally pull it all apart.
So thinking about this whole dark journey through the material, what's the takeaway for you, for the listener? What does a case like this really reveal?
Well, maybe it makes you think about those hidden corners,
Hmm.
in a city, in people's lives,
Mm.
the vulnerabilities of those living on the fringes, maybe.
Yeah. And perhaps it makes us consider the masks people wear, the darkness that can lie hidden behind, well, behind seemingly ordinary or even dazzling facades. What are people capable of when they give in to those twisted visions?